Welcome back to the show.
Welcome back to the show.
And now, your hosts of the Card Subject to Change podcast, the For Frequency's Sake Tag Team Champions of the World, the Wizard CZ, and never wrong, Nick Gold.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another exciting edition of the Card Subject to Change podcast. That's the podcast by the fan for the fan. We're powered by Lopez Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo, and protected by Jared Zook of Country Financial. I, of course, am your host, Never Wrong, Nick Bull. So happy to have you along another journey with us, episode 153. We'll get to that in a moment. But I would be remiss if I did not mention my co-partner, my co-tag team championship partner of the For Frequency's Sake Network. That is the one, the only, the Wizard CZ. Wiz, how you doing?
Man, I'm a bit tired. It's been a long weekend. Had a lot going on, but I'm feeling good. I'm excited. Another episode of the show, and we've got a unique episode today.
Yes, we do.
We have coming into the studio in just a moment. We're going to welcome the co-CEO of the Wrestling Society Network. He is Herman Cade, better known as Professor Bear. And let's welcome him in here right now. Professor, welcome to Card Subject to Change. How are you today?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank y'all for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're glad that you're here. We're glad that you're part of the show. Glad to get you in the room, and most importantly, glad to talk wrestling. I'm going to ask you what I ask, all our other first-time members of the show, first-time guests of the show. Why pro wrestling? What got you into wrestling, and why has it kept you here all these years? Or maybe you're just a newer fan. We don't know that, but why pro wrestling?
Pro wrestling is because of my father, Herman Cade Sr. He was a big wrestling fan. So, and at that time, when Dad liked something, everybody liked it. Don't care if you didn't like it, you were going to like it. So he used to take us to different shows like every week or 2 weeks or whenever they had them. He was a big wrestling fan. And particularly on Saturday, we lived in Knoxville, Tennessee, so we used to get Atlanta stations. So on Saturdays, 6:05, you either were out the house already. If you was in the house, you were quiet. If you were down in the living room with Dad, you better had your mouth shut and enjoyed the show.
So
6:05 on a Saturday night was an institution, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You can't. It was Georgia Championship Wrestling, and by God, you were going to even. It was so bad that even the neighbors' kids knew if we were gonna get out the house, do it before that, because you ring that doorbell, you were likely gonna either A, get cussed out, B, go sit in the corner, or C, after he called your parents, he was going to whoop you and send you to your parents to whoop you. So everybody knew what 6:05 on Saturday meant. It was like part of the family tradition. And quick funny story that I've never told anybody else. We had a dog. His name was Prince. Prince could ring the doorbell when he was ready to come in the house. Even our dog knew not to ring the doorbell at that time. No lie, I swear to God, that dog was smart. He loved my dog, but he would not do it either.
It sounds like a pretty smart dog there. Professor, you're talking about going to shows at 605 Saturday nights. What is your earliest memory of professional wrestling, both on TV and what you've seen in person?
My earliest memories are probably going to be Dusty Rhodes and Thunderbolt Patterson and Ole Anderson. Just those three always stick out to me. And
why do those three stick out to you?
Because they were okay. Well, Ole, he was just miserable in his speak and the way he carried himself. That was, to me, was the grumpy guy. You never wanted, that was that type. If he was your neighbor, you wouldn't step on his grass because you know he would come out, chase you, catch you, whoop your parents, that type of person.
Yep.
So then, of course, Dusty and Thunderbolt, nobody had the gift of gab like those two.
Okay.
And for me, with Thunderbolt being a black athlete, that just automatically was drawn to him because he spoke the way I heard people around me speak. Mm-hmm. It's like I had representation, and it was like I could be Thunderbolt Patterson if I worked hard enough. Now with Dusty had the gift of gab, and Dusty showed me as a kid there was no color line. He reached out and touched everybody the same. And I love that about Dusty. He could, baby, you know, the American dream is going to be here. And we get the people behind the dream. And the dream is going to take us all the way to the World Heavyweight Championship, baby. So.
Oh, that's a great Dusty, by the way. You've been working on that. That's a good Dusty.
So thank you. So yeah, them were my earliest memories. And now, as far as in person, I think the person that comes to mind more often than not is Bullet Bob Armstrong and Ron and Robert Fuller and Jimmy Golden. They just come to my mind. Those are the ones I actually remember seeing and the matches, and that I guess that's what drew me into. Oh wow, I definitely want to see what that. Hey, we're going to wrestling when we're going to wrestling again. Is Bob gonna be there? And him and his martial arts move is just like, he's the man. You can be the world champion, but Bullet Bob runs Knoxville, Tennessee.
What was it like meeting those guys? Because I think we've all met wrestlers from time to time. I think we got, for the most part, pretty good stories about meeting wrestlers. But each time's different. Each time's unique. What was it like meeting those wrestlers for the first time when you met them? For the matches you were going to see.
Well, I didn't get to meet them per se. I was just in the crowd.
Okay.
But now I do have I got a few different stories on wrestlers I did meet in person.
Yeah.
So my brother and sister, I got two brothers and I got one sister and two half sisters. Well, my oldest brother and my sister went to Atlanta to live, and they lived together for a little while. And my sister and her husband and my brother all lived together. So my sister had her first child. So I was 15. Yeah, I was 15, and I would go down there and hang out and stay. And this particular time, I'm sitting there playing with my nephew, and my cousin, she is 14, was there. And the doorbell rings. Okay, so I get up, go to the door, open the door, and who's standing in front of me but the Junkyard Dog? I'm like, the look I have on my face now is what I had when he was standing there like.
Sure.
So it's like, so you're the Junkyard Dog. What the hell are you doing here? And he asked for my brother. So, okay. I said, okay. So I screamed upstairs, hey, B, the Junkyard Dog is here to see you. He's like, well, send them up. Okay. So, yeah, it's like, of course, to him, it ain't nothing. But to me, I'm like, it's the effing Junkyard Dog. Why is he coming to our place? How do you know him? You got to give me some details because you're not talking. So Junkyard Dog went upstairs, and till this day, and I still don't know how this happened. I've seen people fall on the steps, you know, they miss the step and you fall and whatever. He fell up the stairs and missed 3 steps. I, to this day, do not know how he did that. It's like you're standing and you fall, but you bolt yourself over 3 steps. How in the world did you do that? But, you know, amazed. So that was my first real experience that I can remember of meeting a wrestler. And he was just the sweetest as could be, just nice. I think he was supposed to give me and my cousin autographs, and then he was just running late and forgot. But yeah, he was just a really sweet guy.
That's good. I like meeting wrestlers because these are these larger than life figures, and even if you meet the guys playing the heels, they're the nicest people that you're going to meet. They're very down to earth, and they're very connected with their fan base, as far as I can tell from what the people that I've met. Professor, I know we're going to talk about the network. I want to save that for a little later. I want to hear more of your likes and dislikes in wrestling. So let me ask you, what are you gravitating towards today with the current product?
I guess truthfully, I'm more of an AEW guy. But this is what I try to get people to understand. It's not that I like WWE. I love what Triple H has done, and what he's doing for the company is great. I guess the AEW for me it puts me more into the WCW vibe. And I was, of course, an NWA/WCW person.
Okay.
I like the storylines that go on in AEW, and even though a lot of them don't go to fruition because people get hurt or whatever, but they will put some context around it to make you understand why they did what they did. They wrestle. When they wrestle, they tell a story. I love wrestlers who can tell stories in the ring.
Yes.
With WWE, the long-term booking has gotten so much better. Triple H has started to wrap things together to make it make sense, to go back, even if it's like a botch, like the Randy Orton and Gunther match at King of the Ring. They had a botch, but Triple H is so good at telling stories, he was able to weave it back together to make it make sense of why Randy was getting a title shot when he's on SmackDown. And that to me, I like, because that treats us fans with respect. That, well, you're stupid, you're just watching and we can do anything. No, they make it where it's consistent. And I love consistent storytelling.
Yeah, sometimes it's fine it's okay to admit mistakes. Sometimes those happen, and when you do that, it gives them more human edge too. Like you understand it. You're more drawn to that. When you talk about AEW a little bit, and you talk about a guy who just lost the championship title over there, And essentially his full-time career, Bryan Danielson, you talk about a guy who tells a story in a ring. That's one guy that's gone full-time now. So that's kind of a bummer for them.
Yeah. But as far as his in-ring career, but he is such an intelligent wrestler, and he's good. He knows he can help behind the scenes and do things and try to keep a sense of order, because I'd be one of the first people to tell you, AEW, they had no order. And I love that he is trying to help get them in a place where everything makes sense. Okay, if you do something, you get punished correctly. It's not about who you are, but it's about following the rules, because no one's above the company. So I like that, and especially with the whole CM Punk issue, I'm really glad, and they need that.
Oh, without a doubt. And I hope he does take a commanding role backstage. I'd like to see him on an on-screen role continuing, even if he's not in the ring. We're talking about Bryan Danielson. He's got, in my opinion, the match of the year so far. I know there's still a couple months left, but him and Will Ospreay from a few months ago just tore it up and told one fantastic story in the ring. You're talking about telling stories in the ring right there. That was a match that I will remember forever.
I tell you, you can take any opponent versus Will Ospreay, and you could legitimately argue match of the year. Will Ospreay is a one of a kind athlete. As much as I don't care for this guy, I respect him and respect his ability. Kenny Omega, one in a lifetime athlete. He tells such a story when he wrestles. And getting back to Bryan, his move sets, everything adjusts according to what it needs. Well, his neck is hurting, so he adjusts his style. When he broke his arm, he adjusted and made it play into the storyline. And it's so brilliant. Not every wrestler has that. Shawn Michaels, he was able to adjust on the fly.
Yes, sir. Yep.
And again, not one of my personal favorites, but I respect Shawn. Ric Flair, the Nature Boy. No matter what opponent you threw at Flair, Flair could adjust and bring and keep the same style that you're used to. If it was a big man, he would bump for him. He would move, but he still would break him down. He would go for the leg. If it's a flying athlete, he'll do his thing, bump, but he would break him down. So it's just those athletes like that that I love and have to respect. Bret Hart. At one point, I thought Bret Hart was boring, but after understanding what Bret does and why, I appreciate it now. I understand it now. Again, where I thought the other athletes were doing something, I recognized that it was Bret actually doing it for them, making them look better. So for me, that's just what it is. It's like great athletes make great storytelling.
I think we're going to get along just fine, Professor Bear. We both hold Bret Hart in high admiration.
The only thing I can say negative about Bret,
and it's probably, I'll say the same thing. You go ahead. You go first.
All right. If it's anything, Bret, if you ever see this, hear this, I want to let you know I have the utmost respect for you. but damn it, let it go. Bill Goldberg, I'm sick of him. I'm sick of you whining about him. I understand he took your career away, but brother, you could be a lot off. You could be worse off. Be thankful that us fans love you and respect you. Let it go, man. Don't let it eat you alive where your last thought is Bill Goldberg and die. Please.
If he can make amends with Vince and with Shawn Michaels, he can definitely do the same with Bill Goldberg.
Exactly.
I can't say it any better than what Professor Bear just said. It. So I'm just going to go with what he said. I absolutely agree. That's what I was going to say too, in probably some different words, but that's what I was leaning towards. Man, he just needs to let it go. Just needs to let it go and enjoy the rest of his life. You know, he's kind of one of the last ones from that group. When I say that group, the Canadian wrestlers, the Hart Foundation, at that time in WWE or WWF in the late '90s, the Attitude Era. You know, when it was Canada against WWF, those guys are gone. He's the only one left. So I just wish he would lift that, like Professor Bear said, lift that bitterness off his heart and just enjoy the rest of his life.
Well, gentlemen, this is a good breaking point here. We do have to take our customary break to promote the other shows on the network. We are talking with Professor Bear of the Wrestling Society Network on Card Subject to Change, the podcast by the fans for the fans, powered by Lopez Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo, and of course, protected by Jared Zook of Country Financial. On the other side of the break, we're going to hear all about the Wrestling Society Network, but we'll also have our weekly moment of focus with our good friend, JT Energy. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a minute.
For frequency's sake has you covered on all things sports. From the squared circle to the hardwood and the gridiron to the speedway, we've got something for everyone. Walk down the aisle with the boys from Card Subject to Change every Sunday as they take a deep dive into everything pro wrestling. Head on over to the hardwood with Doug Green and Watching the W each week for all the news from the WNBA. Want more insight from Pit Row? Check out the Green, White, and Checkered podcast where they give their insight on everything happening on and off the track. Need your gambling fix? We've got you there. Dan Hancock and Gotham Gambling will help you cover the spread with the Golden Ticket Show. Football more your style? Explore the waters of NFL DFS with DFS Deep Dive with Brian Craighead and Jordan Kernan each week. More into the science portion of the game? The Professor John Bush and Dennis Michelson take you into their science lab and dissect your week in the data lab. Need to know who to start last minute? The network's flagship show, For Fantasy's Sake, is here in a pinch. The fellas come to you live every football Sunday from 10 to 11:30 Central with the week's best DFS, gambling, and lineup advice. And wrap up your Sundays with Joe Winkle and Nick Brinks as they come to you live with educated ignorance, looking at all the day's action. Not enough football on Sunday? Not a problem. Kick your feet up at lunch on Monday and slip into the football lounge with Mark and Dan while they look at the week that was in news, notes, and more. For frequency's sake, you know what we mean.
Welcome back to the show.
Welcome back to the show.
Welcome back to the show.
There we go. There we go. Welcome back to Change, the podcast by the fan for the fan. We're episode 153. We have in studio guest Professor Bear. We are going to get back to him momentarily. But before we do that, we would be remiss if we did not acknowledge our weekly segment with our good friend JT Energy. And let's take this moment to focus.
Welcome to a moment of focus with the feline phenom, JT Energy. And this week, the boys on the Card Subject to Change podcast, well, they're expanding not only your knowledge, but my knowledge with their special guest. Because not only is he giving us some insight, he's letting you know where you can expand your knowledge. And that brings me to this week's moment of focus. Focusing on learning, expanding, growing who we are. We already have a ton of knowledge up here, but not as much as you could have. So take it a moment, whether it's pro wrestling or any other hobby, or just something that you've always thought, You know what? I've always wanted to learn about that. Just do it. Expand your knowledge. Don't wait. This has been a moment of focus with the feline phenom, JT. Hey, don't forget, November 2nd, Bluegrass, Iowa. Come see me in person as SCW Pro presents The Harvest. But again, JT Energy.
Thank you, JT, for having some great insight, and of course, you definitely want to keep learning, keep expanding your knowledge. My personal thoughts on that is, if you're not learning, you're not living. Am I wrong?
Not at all.
And then, although I'm not a big fan of the whole learning tree nickname, we're kind of sitting under the learning tree here, Professor Bear, are we not, CZ?
We definitely are. And I think it's time we learn some more about the Wrestling Society Network, Professor. I want to know, first of all, for those who have no idea what this is, talk about what you present to us wrestling fans out there.
All right. So the Wrestling Society Network, we are wrestling fans that are trying to get wrestling fans together to give knowledge of what we know about wrestling, updates and stuff on our Facebook page. We have over 3,200 members, and what everybody does is you can advertise what wrestling is local to you. Promote yourself as a wrestler. If you're a promoter, you can promote your card. We're just trying to have a space where everybody can enjoy wrestling. Now, with our with our app, this is where we have put different wrestling segments together. So on the app, which is also on Roku, on Apple TV, on Amazon, and Fire Stick. So you can go on there and choose from so many different wrestling categories. We have a bunch of local indie promotions that you can watch. We have cartoons based on wrestling. We have documentaries. We have bios. We have, if you're a fit like collecting wrestling figures and different things, we have different shows on collection. We also have our 2K promotion that we run, and the wrestlers on there are fans and also real indie wrestlers. And we are running that promotion as real life. What would we do if we had a promotion? So we do that. We actually have action figure promotions where they do some amazing work and will get you hooked. I guarantee you, if you just go in to watch 5 minutes of it, you'll be wanting more and more and more of it. It's so awesome. We have movies with wrestlers in it. You name it, we probably have it. A lot of different ones you've heard of and hadn't heard of. We have podcasters. We have different podcasts because everybody's style is different, talk about different aspects of wrestling. So we're giving you different podcasts to see what you like and enjoy. So when I say just, I mean, this morning about 1 a.m., I just added backyard wrestling. So we are trying to get so many different wrestling aspects on our channel for you to enjoy. And on top of all of this great content, it's free. I mean, what else should I have to say? Free wrestling.
Right. With so many, with today, there's subscriptions to things, there's shows behind paywalls. You're coming here and giving us all this information and telling us it's free.
It is free. Again, and like I tell people, now, will it always stay free? Probably not. But get in right now and explore. Find different things you enjoy. And all of this is the brainchild of my partner, Brady Owens. When he was a kid and got into wrestling, he always wanted wrestling to be one place so he could go at one place and watch all different kinds of wrestling.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
he has grown up. He's got a great team around him, and this is what we present.
So talk about, everyone has an origin story. How did the Wrestling Society Network come about? Talk about the origins and how things got started.
Well, look, I sure will. Again, it started with Brady Owens. He started in 2018, I believe, and he did a podcast and had some different shows. Well, Brady quickly found out that he couldn't do it on his own. So Brady took some time off and researched, did some scouting and stuff. And then in 2022, Brady put out an ad on Facebook looking for people who want to do a podcast about wrestling. So I saw the ad and I didn't answer it. I actually left my office and went into my living room with my wife, and I told her about it. And she was like, okay, why are you sitting here? I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, that's a great opportunity. It's right up your alley. I'm like, babe, nobody's going to want to listen to me tell wrestling stories. Who would want to? Right. She's like, oh, please. If God came down, you would debate him. So sitting there for about a minute in my head, I'm like, okay, she's not lying. I would be just as humble if I thought it was wrong. Like, Lord, I know you know more than me. But so I ended up getting up, going back into my office and sending an application in. An hour later, Brady hit me up. Me and him had a conversation, and we've been rocking together ever since.
Wrestling is so many things to so many different people, but I think it's like the great uniter. I think it's best at bringing people together.
Definitely.
We're like one big family, whether we love each other, hate each other. Wrestling is just a big family, in my opinion, especially when you're on the independent level, because that's such a up close and personal with the talent. It just one big family. Like I said, I can't say it any better than that.
I 100% agree with you. My wife has never been to a WWE or AEW show, but we went to a bunch of local shows, and my God, does she love local wrestling. Because like you said, the interaction with the wrestlers and the excitement, she loves it.
So talk about, I know there's more to the Wrestling Society Network. You have a website as well.
Yes, we do. So the website is a lot of different avenues and things that we, with the Wrestling Society, want to give to the fans. Like you said, we're a big family, so we are trying to give people different information, different things. So one thing we have on the website is called the podcasting room. And what we do on there, we put all different types of podcasters on that. You see their logo. If you click on the logo, it takes you to their page.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, we're not making any money off of that. We're not charging anyone. We just want to get the podcasters some love and help them grow, because for our philosophy, if we all grow, we make wrestling better and we grow together. Another nice aspect of the website is we have a weekly Indie Wrestler of the Week. And this is where everybody can vote on it. You vote on your favorite wrestler, and we acknowledge, as Roman says, we acknowledge them and give them love and give information about them, where they train, and put their info in the bio. If you're a promoter looking for talent, there you go. So that's a way of giving some love to the wrestlers that bust their butt that a lot of people may not have seen or even heard of, trying to elevate them.
That's kind of why I love what Nick and I do. Not only do we review the bigger shows on the big stage, but our forte is bringing on the up-and-coming talent who are working week in and week out on the indies and giving them a voice. And I love that you're doing that as well. Everybody listening, I'm going to have Professor Bear give us that website, the URL in just a moment, but I encourage those who are fans of our show to go vote for JT Energy, since he's one of our good friends. There are several others in SCW Pro that I think deserve it, but I can't hype JT Energy enough because of what he does for us and our relationship with him, since he's a collaborator with us. But Professor, what is that? Where can we find that website? What is that URL?
It is www.thewrestlingsociety.com.
Okay.
And another aspect we have, we talk about how the wrestlers don't get love. Well, what about the referees? What about the managers and the valets, the commentators, the ring announcers? So we came up with the secondary personality of the week.
Ooh.
To give back to other people besides the wrestlers. Like I said, the referees, because without the refs, you can't have a match.
Right.
The valets and the managers, they keep us going. Whether we like them or hate them, they are part of the show. The announcers and commentary team, when you sitting there, they help push the storyline along. And again, they don't get the recognition they deserve, especially at the indie level. So that's another aspect that we are doing, just again to give them love and get their name out there. Not again, we just want to help.
And I feel the same way. Just want to help as best we can, give people a voice. It's a great. I think this is great that you're offering this not only for us podcasters, but for the independent wrestlers that are out there trying to make a name for themselves.
Oh yeah, we're wrestling fans, and that's the best way I can put it. We're wrestling fans, to the biggest ones to the smallest ones. We love wrestling, and if we can help drive that and keep it alive, we're going to do our best to do it.
Oh, without a doubt.
And then another thing we just added is, again, like I think I can speak for y'all. When we were younger, we would have loved to be wrestlers, but we didn't know where to go or how to get it. Well, we also have on there, we have wrestling schools. So you can find the wrestling schools, do your research to find one that may be close to you, that can make you help you live out your dream.
Mm-hmm.
Without a doubt. Professor, anything else that you want to touch on while we're talking about the Wrestling Society Network? Anything else that's important that our fans should know about?
The biggest thing, like I said, is it's just fun, and it helps to have something in a nice place where you don't have to go search for 2-3 hours to find a wrestling and things. And almost I would be remiss if I didn't mention that the independent promotions that we work with, we have a section where you can click on their links and it will take you to their page. You can watch their different wrestling, or you can go on the app. We are adding stuff constantly on different promotions. And again, if you're living, let's say you're living in California and you want to find another promotion that's not close to you, and you're just looking and you see the School of Morton. Okay, hey, it's on the app. Okay, now I'm gonna have to go to the website because they only have a few things. I want more. Okay, let me go to the website, click on it, and they'll show us where we can go to look at it and watch there. It's just, again, going back to giving and educating people. It's being a big wrestling fan.
No, for sure. And with that, Professor, I want to thank you so much for sharing your knowledge, your information about the Wrestling Society Network. We've put the link to the website in our comments. You can find them on Facebook, Instagram. Are you on Twitter? It'll always be Twitter. It's not X.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much. This has been a very good pleasure talking with you here. And, you know, I know you're friends like I am with Joe Monroe. I'm going to end the show tonight by just quoting him and say, shut up and enjoy professional wrestling.
That was going to be my ending, but hey, as long as it's out there and people understand. And again, there's so many different wrestling out there. Just because you don't like one particular style doesn't mean there's nothing out there. Give it a chance and stop. What? My quick pet peeve. Why do you worry about how many wrestling fans are in the building? Does that take away from the athletes doing what they do? Does it take away from the great matches and stuff? It doesn't. Stop worrying about it, because what you're going to do is you're going to make wrestling go back to the dark ages where it's only going to be one. You're going to have to be searching forever, and it's going to suck because it's going to be monopolized. Please, people, enjoy wrestling.
Very much so. Thank you again, Professor. We appreciate you coming on. That's going to wrap up this edition of Card Subject to Change. For my partner, my tag team champion partner, Never Wrong Nick Bull, I am the Wizard CZ. You've been tuned into Card Subject to Change, the podcast by the fan for the fan, powered by Lopez Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo, and protected by Jared Zook of Country Financial. Look for the Kickout midweek coming up in the middle of the week for you here, and we'll be back with the regular Card Subject to Change next Sunday. Stay tuned to socials for more details.
This has been a For Frequency's Sake Podcast Network production. For more great content, subscribe to For Frequency's Sake on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter.